The world holds its breath as tensions between Iran and Israel reach a boiling point. In a shocking escalation, Iran has launched a second attack against Israel, leaving the international community on edge. Now, all eyes are on Israel as nations around the globe anxiously await its response. The next move could determine the fate of the entire region. As the world holds its breath, Israel stands at a crossroads, contemplating its next move in response to Iran's second attack. The options before them are as diverse as they are consequential, each carrying the potential to reshape the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. One path Israel might consider is a direct military strike on Iranian soil. This could involve targeting key military installations or command centers, sending a clear message of retaliation. However, such an action would be fraught with risk, potentially escalating the conflict to unprecedented levels and drawing in other regional powers. Another option on the table is a covert operation. Israel has a history of clandestine missions, and they might opt for a more subtle approach, such as cyber attacks on Iranian infrastructure or targeted assassinations of key figures. While this could allow Israel to maintain plausible deniability, it may not satisfy those calling for a more visible and forceful response. Israel might also choose to leverage its technological superiority by deploying advanced missile defense systems and bolstering its own borders. This defensive stance could be coupled with diplomatic pressure, rallying international support to impose harsher sanctions on Iran. Though less immediately satisfying, this approach could prove more sustainable in the long run. A more controversial option is the potential for Israel to demonstrate its rumored nuclear capabilities. While Israel has never officially acknowledged its nuclear arsenal, even a hint at its willingness to use such weapons could dramatically alter the balance of power. However, this move would likely face severe international backlash and could potentially backfire. Lastly, Israel might surprise the world by extending an olive branch, proposing diplomatic negotiations to ease tensions. While seemingly unlikely given the current climate, such a move could position Israel as a peacemaker on the global stage. Yet it risks being perceived as weakness by hardliners both at home and abroad. As Israeli leadership weighs these options, the consequences of their decision will undoubtedly ripple far beyond their borders, potentially reshaping alliances and the future of Middle Eastern stability. The United States finds itself in a precarious position as tensions between Iran and Israel reach a boiling point. Washington's concerns are multifaceted and deeply rooted in its strategic interests in the Middle East. First and foremost, the US fears that an escalation of hostilities could jeopardize its long-standing alliance with Israel. As Israel's most powerful ally, America would be compelled to offer support, potentially drawing it into a wider conflict. This scenario could strain US military resources and compromise its global commitments elsewhere. Moreover, any large-scale conflict in the region threatens to destabilize oil markets, potentially triggering a global economic crisis. The Middle East remains a crucial source of oil for the world, and disruptions to supply could send shockwaves through international markets, affecting American consumers and businesses alike. The US is also wary of the potential for Iran to accelerate its nuclear program in response to Israeli aggression. This could lead to a nuclear arms race in the Middle East, fundamentally altering the balance of power and presenting a grave threat to global security. Furthermore, America's diplomatic efforts in the region could be severely undermined. Years of careful negotiations and relationship building with various Middle Eastern nations could unravel, diminishing US influence and creating a power vacuum that rival nations like Russia or China might exploit. Lastly, there's the very real concern of terrorism. A major conflict could serve as a rallying cry for extremist groups, potentially leading to increased terrorist activities against US interests both in the region and on American soil. In essence, the United States finds itself walking a tightrope, desperately seeking to prevent a catastrophic war that could reshape the geopolitical landscape and threaten its strategic position on the global stage. As tensions escalate, one of the most drastic options on Israel's table is targeting Iran's gas infrastructure. This move, while potentially devastating, could cripple Iran's economy and significantly weaken its ability to fund further aggression. Iran's natural gas reserves are among the largest in the world, serving as a crucial pillar of its economy. An attack on these assets would send shockwaves through the global energy market, potentially causing a surge in gas prices worldwide. The economic fallout wouldn't be limited to Iran. It could ripple across the entire Middle East and beyond. Strategically, such an attack would aim to undermine Iran's domestic stability. With a significant portion of Iranian households and industries relying on natural gas, disrupting this supply could lead to widespread civil unrest. This internal pressure might force the Iranian regime to reconsider its aggressive stance towards Israel. However, this course of action carries enormous risks. It would almost certainly be viewed as an act of war, not just by Iran, but by the international community. The environmental impact of attacks on gas facilities could be catastrophic, potentially affecting neighboring countries and drawing them into the conflict. Moreover, such an aggressive move could isolate Israel diplomatically, straining relationships with allies who oppose further escalation. It might also provoke Iran into even more desperate and dangerous retaliatory measures, possibly involving its proxies across the region. The decision to target Iran's gas infrastructure is not one Israel would take lightly. It represents a significant escalation that could alter the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East for years to come. As the world watches, the weight of this potential decision hangs heavy over Israeli leadership. One of the most dramatic and consequential options on the table for Israel is the possibility of striking Iran's nuclear facilities. This scenario, long considered a last resort, could now be closer to reality than ever before. The implications of such an action would be far-reaching and potentially catastrophic. Israel has long viewed Iran's nuclear program as an existential threat, and the recent attacks have only heightened these concerns. If Israel were to launch an assault on Iran's nuclear sites, it would be a high-risk, high-stakes operation. The success of such a mission is far from guaranteed, given the fortified nature of these facilities and their dispersal across Iran. Even if Israel managed to significantly damage Iran's nuclear capabilities, the global repercussions would be immediate and severe. We'd likely see an immediate spike in oil prices, sending shockwaves through the global economy. The entire Middle East could be plunged into chaos, with Iran and its proxies retaliating not just against Israel, but potentially against US interests in the region as well. Moreover, such an attack could galvanize support for Iran's regime both domestically and internationally, potentially pushing other nations to accelerate their own nuclear programs as a deterrent. The international community would be forced to respond, potentially leading to sanctions against Israel and a dramatic shift in global alliances. The likelihood of success is another critical factor. While Israel has sophisticated military capabilities, completely neutralizing Iran's nuclear program would be an enormous challenge. There's a real risk that an attack could merely delay Iran's nuclear ambitions while simultaneously justifying an acceleration of their efforts. In the end, the decision to strike Iran's nuclear sites would be a gamble of the highest order, with potential consequences that could reshape the geopolitical landscape for generations to come. The specter of a regional war looms large over the Middle East as tensions between Israel and Iran reach a boiling point. If Israel chooses to escalate its response, the consequences could be catastrophic, potentially engulfing the entire region in a devastating conflict. The delicate balance of power in the Middle East hangs by a thread. Any significant action by Israel against Iran could easily trigger a domino effect, drawing in neighboring countries and longtime rivals. Syria, already war-torn and hosting Iranian forces, could become a flashpoint. Hezbollah in Lebanon, a powerful Iranian proxy, would increase its fire against Israel. Iraq, struggling to maintain its sovereignty, could also increase its missile firing at Israel. Jordan and Egypt, while maintaining peace treaties with Israel, would face immense pressure from their populations to support the Palestinian cause and oppose Israeli actions. This could strain decades-old agreements and further destabilize the region. Yemen, already embroiled in a complex conflict, could see its Houthi rebels, backed by Iran, intensifying attacks on shipping lanes and neighboring countries, expanding the war's reach to the Red Sea and beyond. The involvement of these nations would not only lead to a humanitarian catastrophe, but could also disrupt global oil supplies, sending shockwaves through the world economy. The potential for the conflict to draw in major powers like Russia and China, each with their own regional interests, further complicates the scenario. In this tinderbox atmosphere, even a limited strike by Israel could spark a conflagration that rapidly spirals out of control, transforming a bilateral conflict into a full-scale regional war with global repercussions. As tensions escalate between Iran and Israel, the international community is working tirelessly behind the scenes to prevent further conflict. Diplomatic channels are buzzing with activity as world powers attempt to mediate and de-escalate the situation. The United Nations Security Council has convened emergency sessions calling for restraint from both sides. The Secretary General has been in constant communication with leaders in Tehran and Tel Aviv, urging them to step back from the brink of war. Meanwhile, the United States, as Israel's closest ally, finds itself in a delicate position. While publicly supporting Israel's right to self-defense, American diplomats are privately pressing for moderation. They're acutely aware that any misstep could ignite a powder keg in the Middle East. The European Union has also stepped up its diplomatic efforts. EU foreign ministers are shuttling between capitals, offering to broker talks and proposing economic incentives for peace. They're leveraging their trade relationships with Iran to encourage a return to the negotiating table. Russia and China, with their significant influence in the region, are playing crucial roles as well. Moscow has offered to host peace talks, while Beijing is using its economic clout to discourage further aggression. Both nations are emphasizing the need for a diplomatic solution to avoid devastating consequences for global stability. Arab nations, particularly those in the Gulf, are engaged in their own diplomatic maneuvers. They're acutely aware that a full-scale war between Iran and Israel could have catastrophic consequences for the entire region. Saudi Arabia and the UAE are quietly working through back channels to ease tensions and prevent further escalation. As we stand on the precipice of potential conflict, the decisions facing Israeli leadership are nothing short of monumental. The path they choose could reshape the Middle East and send shockwaves across the globe. A measured response might maintain an uneasy status quo, while a more aggressive stance risks igniting a powder keg of regional tensions. The consequences extend far beyond Israel's borders, potentially disrupting global energy markets, straining international alliances, and even drawing major powers into a dangerous confrontation. The world watches with bated breath, knowing that the next move could either defuse this crisis or plunge the region into chaos. In these critical hours, the weight of history rests on the shoulders of Israel's leaders as they navigate a treacherous path between national security and the specter of widespread conflict.